shoulder. It's a little harder to get at it. He doesn't have as good a grip. Then to finish, again, I'm going to do the constriction, and that's it. Okay, constriction. If you just think of that, constriction, it will help your chokes tremendously. Then get a grappling dummy or a bob dummy or a pillow, whatever, and you just practice making that hole smaller, and it will really make your rear chokes much better. So with chokes, we have the rear choke, and there's so many details. See, I really work a lot from the back. When we're training, we do back escapes, which we'll do later in detail. Spend a lot of time at the back, because if you get to the back, if there are no weapons involved, you get to the back, you want to stay at the back. You want to stay at the back. So you need to really understand how to position yourself, how to counter his escapes, and then how to get to a situation, generally by trapping an arm with your leg. We get a mathematical advantage where I have two hands to choke with and he only has one hand to defend with. That's what we're always looking for. And that's a lot of stuff, and it's just a little beyond the scope of this. But I highly suggest that you spend a lot of time looking into all the different ways of finishing from the back. Because if you get there, you want to make sure your finishing percentage is extremely high, especially in self-defense. So the other thing we have to look at is a guillotine. See, it can be from your guard, it can be here where you snap somebody down or you get to the position, whatever, they're in turtle, and you're going to do a guillotine from right here. So a couple things on the guillotine, right, is I can just put my hands together, put my forearm near the wrist at his trachea, and just do a trachea crush right here. But again, that's a pain compliance. I mean, it's possible to close the trachea so completely that it actually makes a person go to sleep. But you also run the risk of seriously injuring the person. You know, a lot of non-athletes get that carotid restraint, right? They get it crushed and they die. And so you do not want, in a self-defense situation, to do something where you can actually kill the opponent, unless it is so extreme that that's your only resort. Okay, and that's the legal issue. Is very, very important to understand that you might win the battle but lose the legal war, and then you're in jail or in prison. That's not what we're after. So it's much better, instead of again going for pain compliance, is going for physiological compliance. In other words, choking them unconscious. So instead of trying to just choke with the forearm, this area of the forearm, we again, just like on the rear naked choke, we want to get the crook of the elbow lined up with the trachea if possible. And that leads us to a few particular chokes. For example, from here, the good old Marcello team, right? We go on this side, we switch. The beautiful thing here, first of all, if you're going to get this in and get the crook of the elbow, if you think about that's your goal, you just know that you can't just put your arm in this way and get the crook of the elbow lined up with the trachea. So you have to drop your shoulder and put your hand in very deep and get your hand high here, okay? So it's called Marcello team, sometimes because he's the one that popularized it, Marcelo Garcia, or sometimes kind of a high elbow, guillotine, whatever it is, it's awesome. Okay, so from right here, I'll show you from this side, then I'll show the other side. From here, what I'm going to do is not just go straight down on him, but I'm actually going to drop my shoulder so that my arm goes through farther, and I'm trying to get my hand up over his shoulder immediately, right here. Then from here is where you can go ahead and lock it in, right? Do that whole front naked choke, or the Marcello team where you grab your hand and you put it over. Now sometimes people are like, well, that's pretty interesting. You try it and it doesn't really work so well. If it doesn't work well, it's probably a couple things. One is because as you're going through, you didn't go through quite far enough. So you really want to dip the shoulder so it gets all the way through there. The other thing, it's not just a forward. You're not just pushing forward with your elbow and pushing, but you're lifting up. You're actually pulling it up. With if you can take your hand out of there for a second. So it's like a hanging motion, That alone is bad, sorry. Okay? He's real tough, thankfully, right? But then when you lock this over, it's worse yet. You get this levering position and it makes it extremely, extremely tight. Now people say, well, there are different ways to do it. Why don't I just go and finish him this way?